State police released the names of the 20 people killed in Saturday's limo crash as the bodies are moved to local funeral homes.
One of the victims was the driver of the limo. Tonight, we have a statement from his family about the crash.
First responders coming to a debriefing at the Schoharie Volunteer Fire Department tonight. I spoke with one chief who said he was set to use the same limousine service for his own wedding just weeks before. What he had to say, new at 6.
WNYT, Albany, News Channel 13. Live at 6 begins right now.
Good evening and welcome to more of our continuing coverage of the tragedy in Schoharie. I'm Jim Cambridge.
And good evening, I'm Benita Zahn. Governor Cuomo directing flags in New York to be lowered to half staff on Thursday in honor of the victims of Saturday's limo crash.
The governor released a statement saying it's hard to fathom the extent of this tragedy. We lost mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, sisters, brothers, and friends. The community will never be the same.
Autopsies were conducted at Albany Medical Center, and this morning, a dozen hearses left the hospital for a funeral home in Amsterdam. Many of the 20 people who died had ties to the Amsterdam area, and today state police released the official list of victims. One of the names you just saw on that list was Scott Lisanikia. He was the driver of the limo.
After consulting with an attorney, his widow issued this statement saying, quote, Scott was a loving and caring man who would never have knowingly put others in harm's way.
Scott's family believes that unbeknownst to him, he was provided with a vehicle that was neither roadworthy nor safe for any of its occupants.
The limo involved may have been for sale on Craigslist.
An alert viewer found the ad for a 2001 Ford Excursion and sent it to us. So we did some digging and found the ad is connected to Hazy Limousine in Gansevoort. That's part of Prestige Limo.
The asking price, $9,000. We called the number listed in the ad and were told it had been changed, disconnected, or is no longer in service.
There was no new information released today by state police on what may have caused the crash.
The National Transportation Safety Board back in Schoharie today, and we're hearing from people who have ridden in the exact same limo that ran the stop sign that crashed into a parked SUV. Emily Burkhart begins our team coverage from Schoharie. Emily?
Jim, Benita, I got a chance to speak to two local fire chiefs who responded to the scene here on Saturday. They say they go through several training exercises with their crews every month, but they say nothing could have prepared them from what they experienced here.
We're human. You know, sometimes you try to be tougher than, you really are. And then all at once it comes crashing down.
Matthew Deffer is the Esperance fire chief. He says he heard the limo pass him at a gas station about a half hour before the crash.
It just caught us off guard. You hear this loud vehicle come through the intersection, you just turn around and look and, realize that it's a limo that sounded just horrible. I just thought to myself, well, hopefully they're going to get that thing repaired.
Then Deffer got the call. He didn't know it was the limo, but he knew it must have been a serious crash.
I mean, we're about, I would say, 8 miles from Schoharie. And they called us in for assistance, and that's, we knew it had to have been bad because, usually departments don't reach out too far.
What's more, Deffer was set to use the same service for his own wedding weeks before. Their reservation was ultimately canceled.
It's scary. It is very scary, and luckily we went a different route. I guess you just don't know today.
Family members and friends of the victims in Saturday's crash need grievance services, but what about the first responders? That's why there's a meeting being held here tonight at the Schoharie Volunteer Fire Department to help them get the services they need.
For somebody to have to go through this, they know that they do that when they sign on the job. I mean, we are volunteers, but it is a job that we all take seriously and professionally. And it does happen time to time, but nothing of this magnitude.
If any first responders need more help after tonight's meeting, Deffer and Pierce said they will go out of their way to make sure they get the services they need. They also said they've been contacted by fire companies throughout New York State and beyond, something they said is extremely helpful during this difficult time. Stay tuned to News Channel 13 for new developments on this story. But for now, reporting live in Schoharie County, Emily Burkhardt, News Channel 13. Jim, Benita.
All right, Emily, thank you.
We spoke today with the man who says the same limo and driver were hired for his wedding exactly 1 year before the date of the fatal crash in Schoharie.
Andrew LaRose says his experience was alarming, and in fact, they wrote negative reviews about the company. Jackie Slater joins us now from Saratoga Newsroom with his story. Jackie?
Benita, Jim, at the time, LaRose says the company went by the name Saratoga Luxury Limousines, and their website posted pictures of pristine-looking vehicles. But he says on the day of his wedding, the SUV limo that showed up was anything but.
It's just terrible. It really is. I mean, they shouldn't have been operating.
The images of the last 2 days sit heavy on Andrew LaRose's shoulders. Exactly 1 year to the day after his wedding, 18 people killed while riding in a limousine van his own wedding party had been in. Another 2 people killed when they were struck by the vehicle.
After my experience going inside, the thing should have been in the scrapyard. Really should have.
The driver identified in the crash, 53-year-old Scott Lisinickia.
I found pictures of him right in front of the apartment with all my groomsmen outside the church, same limousine, same guy.
LaRose says from the minute the limo pulled up, he had a bad feeling.
Air conditioner was broken, there was duct tape that was painted white, rocker panels was rusted. It looked like it went through a chop shop.
In addition to questionable condition, LaRose says the driver's behavior was unacceptable. He was late picking them up after church and late again to shuttle guests from the reception to a nearby hotel. When confronted, LaRose says that Lisinickia used profanities.
I noticed there were empty beer cans in the back. I noticed that he had a second passenger sitting shotgun right next to him. Then I asked him, who was this? And then he started getting pretty upset with me.
LaRose also recalls erratic driving.
He missed Mohawk Riverview and threw it in reverse right on the highway. And instead of turning around and then going back way, he just went in reverse unsafely.
After several complaints to management, eventually they got a partial refund, and he and his new bride tried to put the limo experience behind them until they saw this on their first anniversary and felt compelled to share their story.
They only took me seriously. This probably could have been avoided.
And we've just learned from our media partners at the Post-Star that the driver, Scott Lisinickia, had some outstanding tickets in Glens Falls, and his license should have been suspended. However, it appears that the court clerk failed to properly file this suspension with DMV. We also just found out that he had multiple citations, driving citations here in Saratoga Springs as well. Of course, we're going to continue to investigate these claims and bring you any new information as we get it. For now, reporting live from the Saratoga Newsroom, Jackie Slater, News Channel 13.
Thanks, Jackie.
The limousine involved in Saturday's horrific crash had some problems long before that deadly afternoon.
Federal inspection records indicate the modified 2001 Ford Excursion stretch limo had several deficiencies, some of which had been ignored following previous inspections. Dan Levy's been digging into those inspection records and joined us now with what he's found out. Dan.
Jim, I found out that the limo underwent a thorough roadside inspection just 32 days before that fateful catastrophe. And in those records, after viewing them, some people might be asking, why was the limousine on the road to begin with? There were red flags that were either ignored or they weren't considered serious enough to keep the limo off the road. According to federal inspection documents posted on a U.S. Department of Transportation website, the fateful limo was cited for 14 violations just 32 days prior to the crash. Albany attorney Lee Kinlan, who represents the Hussein family that owns Prestige Limousine Service, says he believes no one should be playing the blame game before the investigation is over.
We believe that in the fullness of time, the investigation is going to show that there were a lot of different factors to this crash, and the state trying to point the finger at one particular thing, 48 to 60 hours after the tragedy, is probably a little premature.
Some of the violations listed on the report have nothing to do with the roadworthiness of the limo. For example, the name of the operator needs to be on display, and the government certification number also needs to be in plain view. The report says they weren't. It also says the limo had been carrying more passengers than the manufacturers engineered it to carry. In addition, the brake malfunction indicator light on the dashboard wasn't working properly, the windshield wipers were defective, and deficiencies uncovered during previous inspections had been ignored. Lee Kinlan says the company is fully complying with the investigation.
Right now, a lot of paperwork, maintenance records, ownership records, things like that.
We reached out to both state and federal transportation officials today, hoping that they might be able to shine a little light on the inspection records. We didn't hear back from them, guys.
All right, thank you, Dan.
Well, up next, 2 people plead guilty in a telephone extortion scam.
And then later on Big Board Sports.
You're always surrounded by people with positive energy.
And that's what our Vent Fitness Athlete of the Week says she loves most about soccer. I'm Chris Honorato. That story is coming up in sports.
Coverage you can trust with Jim Cambridge, Benita Zahn, Chief Meteorologist Bob Kovacic, Meteorologist Paul Cayano, and Roger Weiland on sports. This is News Channel 13, live at 6.
Welcome back. Now, we often warn you about telephone scams. Now, 2 men have pleaded guilty for an extortion scam with over 55 victims across New York State. Giovanni Ayala Rodriguez of Puerto Rico would place calls using the alias George Peters. If someone answered, he'd claim that person's relative had been in a car accident that injured his nephew. The relative was being held hostage until a ransom was paid through wire transfer. Orlando Gonzalez Rivera of Syracuse would then pick up the money. The case against co-defendant Elgio Jimenez Schoharie is ongoing.
A man from Queensbury will spend 15 years in federal prison for possessing child porn. Chad Knowlton is also required to register as a sex offender once he's released. Knowlton admitted in June to using a desktop computer to download and distribute over 1,000 images and videos. He worked at the Great Escape in 2012 and is also charged in Warren County with the sexual abuse of children.
Chief Meteorologist Bob Kovacic says enjoy the warm weather while you can, because, yeah, it's about to change.
And meteorologist Paul Cayano has an update on the path of Hurricane Michael. Right now, the latest news from Wall Street. Stocks ended the day mostly lower, although energy companies climbed with the price of oil and technology companies recovered some of their sharp losses. Tonight we salute Deborah Barnes from Hudson.
She spent 5 years in the Army and fought in the first Gulf War, close to the front lines. We thank her for her service.
Now, your first warning forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Kovacic and Meteorologist Paul Cayano.
Well, in less than 24 hours, it's not looking very good for the folks in the Florida Panhandle from Hurricane Michael, which you're going to detail more on Michael coming up.
Yeah, Category 3 hurricane, 120-mile-per-hour winds, and really the way it looks is that it may strengthen even a little bit more as it approaches, so we'll have an update.
All right, well, plenty of warning, so the folks should know to take precautions. Indeed, warmth will continue through the day. Tomorrow, we hit 81 today. We'll be in that neighborhood, which is a pretty nice neighborhood tomorrow as well. Showers roll through Thursday and Thursday night with a chill down Friday and Saturday. As I said, 81 the day's high, still a very warm October evening temperature, still pretty much in the mid to high 70s in most of the viewing area, and will only drop back on average to the mid 60s by early in the day tomorrow. High and dry, wide open radar-wise for us tonight and through the day tomorrow. Next weather change coming from the west, long line of showers and storms from the northwestern Great Lakes down to the Gulf Coast, some heavier storms and some severe weather in the deep south and the southeastern plain states. But as far as we're concerned, well, we're in good shape. Warm again tomorrow, but some changes, and Michael is going to play a big role in the Gulf Coast, Paul.
Yeah, definitely. We're watching this storm as it steadily makes its way to the north at 12 miles per hour. You can see the distinct eye. In the last few frames, you'll see it get covered up by a blast of thunderstorms around the center. This is the last visible shot we're going to have until the sun comes up tomorrow, but the infrared satellite will take over, and we'll watch this thing roll right up toward Panama City, Florida, over the next, let's say, 18 hours or so, with expected landfall right at about the early afternoon hours tomorrow. Latest from the Hurricane Center, 120 mile per hour. That's sustained winds with gusts to 150. So it's increased steadily and quickly today, and the environment that it's in suggests that it may strengthen even a little bit more on approach. But you can see it remains a Category 3 at least through the overnight hours tonight. Landfall expected by about 1 p.m. tomorrow, right at about, let's say, between Panama City and Apalachicola. The exact path will determine who gets the worst of it, but this part of the U.S. coast very vulnerable to strong storm surge and high water, not to mention all that wind with the Category 3, and then more rain with the system as it tracks through the Carolinas, the very places that got hit hard with Florence. We'll track this right on through landfall. Bob.
And Paul, as we said, coming in perpendicular to the coast, hurricane coming in like this at a 90-degree angle. Bad news right along and east of that track. Real bad news for the storm surge. In any event, let's talk about what's coming our way. Looks quiet tonight and tomorrow as well, with just a few clouds and patchy fog to begin the day on Wednesday. Otherwise partly sunny, warm, a little humid tomorrow as it was today. Dry through tomorrow into tomorrow night. Showers and storms approach on Thursday with a frontal boundary. Maybe some bursts of heavy rain Thursday into Thursday night. Cooling down and drying out as we hit Friday. For tonight, 66, partly cloudy, a mild night. Areas of fog possible later on with a light south breeze. For tomorrow, 81, early morning clouds and fog give way to a partly sunny, warm, and a bit of a humid day with a south breeze. 7-day planner, we get wetness all over our bodies on Thursday. 73, drying out, cooler Fridays, 56. Saturday and Sunday both in the 50s, nights in the 30s. A little cool, but not as cold as it will be in about 2 months.
At least the weather's good. Are you recovered from last night?
Oh, gee. Don't ask me that on TV.
Game 4, Bob?
Don't ask me for that on TV. I can't say what I want to say.
See,
but
it's the
I'm
safe
ready
place
for tonight.
to ask.
Yeah, we'll let Raj take it from there.
Well, they're going to win tonight. They'll be doing something other than playing baseball. We'll hear from both managers, Aaron Boone, Alex Cora, ahead of the must-win with the Yanks tonight. Plus, the Sunday drama will end it for Joseph Girard III, because he's going to tell us where he will be playing basketball next season or the season after. And our Vent Fitness Athlete of the Week blows away opponents with her speed, but unites her team with unselfishness. It's all next on Big Board Sports.
Now, Big Board Sports with Roger Wiley.
Well, very good evening, everybody. Sunday is the day we will finally know where Glens Falls basketball star Joseph Girard III is playing his college basketball. JG3, New York State's all-time leading scorer, will announce his decision at 7 o'clock on Sunday at the Queensberry Hotel. Girard has narrowed it down to 6 schools: Duke, Syracuse, Boston College, Michigan, Penn State, Notre Dame. The NewsChannel 13 All-Star was one of those highly recruited basketball players to ever come out of Section 2. The Yankees suffered their worst postseason defeat ever last night and now must win tonight in order to force a deciding Game 5 on Thursday against the Boston Red Sox at Fenway Park. Luis Severino just didn't have it from the beginning, and manager Aaron Boone should have pulled him long before he did. After that, it was too late. Red Sox, one of the best hitting teams in baseball, and they had a huge night at the plate and embarrassed the Yankees 16-1. There's a reason why Boston won 108 games this season. And the Yankees couldn't hit. Nathan Eovaldi, in the 3 starts against the Yankees as a member of the Red Sox this season, did not allow an earned run. Red Sox have 2 chances now to advance to the American League Championship Series against the Houston Astros. The Yankees, meanwhile, need to turn the page quickly and hope that 38-year-old CC Sabathia delivers a big performance tonight opposite Rick Porcello, or their season will be over. The Mechanicville girls soccer team has only lost 1 game all season, and that is thanks in large part to the great play of Jada Brown, who also finds great success in the classroom. Chris Honorato has our Vent Fitness Athlete of the Week story.
Study halls, don't look at my phone, don't waste my time. I try to get everything done so when I'm out of school, I can focus on my sports.
All 3 of her sports, and yet how very unmillennial of Jada Brown. After all, the Mechanicville junior is too young to technically be a millennial.
When she gets determined and her mind focused on something, she doesn't let anything stop her. She goes for it.
That applies to soccer, basketball, and track and field. Jada will draw big college interest in her fall and spring sports. She's a scoring machine this season, registering either a goal or an assist in every game so far, including 4 goals in a single game.
I like to use my speed, so if I see a through ball or somewhere where there's open space, send me the ball.
Coachable, listens, you can tell her things and she'll pick up on it, and and start immediately apply what you're asking her to do.
A member of National Honor Society, Jada also has volunteered at the local food pantry, participated in the breast cancer walk marathon, and she referees during youth soccer games. Something that has taught her a valuable lesson.
Don't challenge the ref, because it's just not going to work. It's going to put them in a bad mood, and it's not worth it.
Jada is also someone who is deeply rooted in faith. Before any big moment in life, the striker and sprinter turns to an always listening ear.
It seems to always work for me, so that's my go-to thing. Before any games, before anything, a test, quiz, I always say a prayer to God.
Whether it's soccer or track and field in college, Jada already knows she wants to study to be a physical therapist.
Help athletes like me if they get hurt to recover quicker.
Until then, her speed will continue to cause sleepless nights for her opponents. Chris Honorado, News Channel 13.
All right, Chris, great job. Great young lady. Congratulations.
Great footwork there, too.
She's tough.
Thanks, Raj. Recreational marijuana about to be legal in Canada.
Find out when pot shops will open next. In just 8 days, recreational marijuana becomes legal across Canada.
The province of Ontario shares a border with the U.S. from New York to Minnesota. Cities and towns get to decide where private pot shops can be located.
Those stores won't open until April, but in the meantime, the province will operate an online store. NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt up next.
We'll be back with more news at 10 o'clock on My 4 and again at 11 here on News Channel 13. And don't forget, we're always online for you at WMYT.com. From all of us here, have a good evening.